Before this year's WWE Crown Jewel event, Becky Lynch was asked if she would support her partner Seth Rollins by feuding with the Hall of Fame duo of Edge and Beth Phoenix. Speaking on WrestlingGack.com's YouTube channel, the man quite comprehensively stated that she would back Rollins up, help him deal with Edge, and take care of Beth herself. "I mean, I am down for it, but I don't fancy their chances if they want to come at us. I think I'll beat her. If ever she wants to come back, I'll beat her," said Becky Lynch. Seth Rollins lost to Edge at WWE Crown Jewel in a Hell in a Cell match. On the same night, Becky Lynch won a triple threat contest against Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair to retain the SmackDown Women's Championship. For months, Rollins had been feuding with Edge, and the former WWE Universal Champion even went as far as invading the Rated R Superstars home. In the past, Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch have teamed up together to feud against Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin. As things stand, Lynch and Rollins are both a part of the Raw roster with Edge, hence, there is a solid chance of the two couples feuding against one another in the future. However, it should also be noted that Beth Phoenix last wrestled for WWE in 2020, during the Women's Royal Rumble, but despite not being an active in-ring performer, she has been active as a commentator for NXT 2.0. The bigger question here, though, is whether or not Phoenix will be returning to in-ring action at some point to potentially assist Edge. The Hall of Fame duo has never wrestled as a team inside the ring, so it is certainly a first-time ever possibility that many would like to see happen. Big E recently opened up about racism in WWE. He addressed the idea specifically from the perspective of his role with the New Day, revealing that he has not faced any form of racism within the company. The powerhouse of positivity was recently drafted to Monday Night Raw after he cashed in on his Money in the Bank contract, defeating Bobby Lashley to become the new WWE Champion. The New Day member was recently interviewed on the Breakfast Club podcast, where he discussed racism and some of the stereotypes associated with wrestlers of color. He also spoke about how the New Day were allowed to be themselves, and even giving a shout out to Bianca Belair, another wrestler he claims has been allowed to be herself. In WWE, no, honestly I haven't. I will say, as far as our representation on TV, we are getting to where we need to be. It's always a work in progress. Oftentimes, if there are issues it would present themselves as, people see you a certain way, and they want you to, as a character, oh you're a big black man, so this is the role you need to play. Our goal with the New Day was to start tearing down those boxes so people don't see performers. When they see a black woman, they think she needs to be doing certain things. I look at somebody like Bianca, she's so dope to me because not only is she an incredible athlete, but she's so authentic. What you see on screen is who she is off screen, and I think we are getting more of those black characters on TV that are authentic, said Big E. It's great to hear that WWE is allowing its talent to be themselves both inside and outside the ring. Hopefully this practice continues for a long time to come. Big E has a huge target on his back as he looks to continue his reign as WWE Champion. Things have gotten a lot tougher for Big E as two new challengers have emerged. Two former WWE Universal Champions in Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins have both turned their attention to the WWE Championship. KO had a non-title match against Big E on the most recent episode of Raw, and Rollins currently stands as the official #1 contender for the WWE Championship. Paul Heyman is surprised that Brock Lesnar was brought back by WWE, only to get suspended. Brock Lesnar destroyed everyone in his path on SmackDown following his Universal title loss to Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. Lesnar beat up Roman Reigns, the Usos, a bunch of other WWE superstars, and several backstage personnel as well. Adam Pearce also faced the wrath of the Beast incarnate and was put down by Lesnar with 2 devastating F5s. Lesnar was suspended and fined $1 million following the attack. Paul Heyman made an appearance on this week's edition of WWE's The Bump. The special counsel to the tribal chief had an interesting reaction to Brock Lesnar's suspension and made it known that it took him by surprise. "I am not paid by Brock Lesnar. I'm not concerned that Brock Lesnar can afford the $1 million. My concern is for SmackDown. From whose does Brock Lesnar pull that $1 million from? It amazes me that WWE went out of its way to create this huge surprise, not only for the WWE Universe but for your tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and special counsel, Paul Heyman, by bringing Brock Lesnar back at SummerSlam. And then, WWE is all surprised when Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar. What did everyone expect was going to happen when Brock Lesnar appears on SmackDown? We're gonna have a bunch of smiles, and handshakes and kissing a bunch of babies. Come on, he's a beast. That's the box office attraction about Brock Lesnar. So, when Brock Lesnar acts like Brock Lesnar, we suspend him and fine him $1 million. I have no invested interest in Brock Lesnar's business, personal or professional, said Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman made it clear in his comments that he is not concerned with Brock Lesnar and doesn't have any affiliation with the former Universal Champion. Many fans still believe that Heyman has something up his sleeve and is working with Lesnar behind Roman Reigns' back. Paul Heyman has had a history of betraying his clients, He turned on Brock Lesnar himself back in late 2002 and helped Big Show win the WWE title. In 2013, Heyman turned on CM Punk and later cost him his match with Lesnar at SummerSlam. As for Brock Lesnar, he is currently serving a suspension, and there's no telling when he is scheduled to return. Lesnar is still eyeing the Universal title, and it wouldn't be a surprise to see him immediately target Roman Reigns after returning to WWE TV. This week's episode of Writing with Russo focused on Charlotte Flair's complicated WWE status, and Vince Russo feels that the company might not grant the superstar her release. While Vince Russo foresees Charlotte Flair asking for her release, the former WWE head writer doesn't believe the company would be willing to let her go, forcing her to see out her contract. So now we're going to play this little chess game. She is probably, I think, going to ask for her release. And I don't see them granting her that. They are going to make her life miserable. I don't know the terms of her contract, bro. I don't know how long she is under contract for, but at the end of the day, bro, she is probably going to have to gut it out until that contract is done. Vince Russo opined about Charlotte Flair's immediate future. Charlotte Flair has been in the news ever since details of her reported backstage altercation with Becky Lynch came to light. The reigning SmackDown Women's Champion is reportedly not a popular figure backstage, and the belief is that she could force her way out of the WWE. Vince Russo is no stranger to backstage troubles, as he had a forgettable spell in WCW in the late 90s. Russo stated that no amount of money would be enough to entice Charlotte Flair to stay if she had already decided to quit WWE from a psychological standpoint, recalling his WCW days as comparison. Here's what Vince Russo said: "I negotiated like a 2-year contract for like $1 million for 2 years, because I was going to save everything and I was going to be done. Plus, bro, I had bonus pay and incentives and stuff like that. I swear to God, Chris, 3 months in, I was on the phone with my attorney saying, I don't care what you have to do, get me out of this deal. And bro, I don't have Charlotte Flair money, I don't have wrestler money, but there was a 2-year, $2 million, and I was like, get me out of this. So, the money doesn't matter. All the money in the world is not going to make her happy," Russo revealed. How do you see the entire Charlotte Flair situation panning out within WWE in the next few months? Will the company's officials punish her before the widely expected exit? At WWE Crown Jewel 2021, Roman Reigns defeated Brock Lesnar in a match filled with shenanigans. Paul Heyman had a major role to play in the controversial nature of the bout, and he recently attempted to justify his actions as well. At one point during Lesnar vs. Reigns, the Tribal Chief's special counsel tossed the Universal Championship into the ring right between both superstars. This raised many questions as to whose side Paul Heyman was really on. After all, Lesnar briefly gained control of the title and could have won the match if the Usos hadn't subsequently interfered in Roman Reigns' favor. Speaking in character on the latest episode of WWE's The Bump, Heyman affirmed his allegiance to Reigns, blaming terrible jet lag and his lack of accuracy for the controversial title throw. "If I could go back to Crown Jewel, which I can't, then the throw would be more accurate. What happened was, number one, I had terrible jet lag. It's a long trip to Saudi Arabia, and I had so much business to do because we did have Wi-Fi on the private jet that we took to Saudi Arabia. So it was a long trip to Saudi Arabia. I had terrible jet lag, and to be blunt, to embrace my own flaws, I'm not an athlete. And I'm not built like an athlete. I don't have the strength of an athlete or the accuracy of an athlete. So in throwing the title into the ring, my aim is off, because I'm not an athlete, and I had jet lag. And that title is very heavy, by the way, extremely heavy," said Heyman. Following the events of Crown Jewel, Brock Lesnar went on a rampage on SmackDown, getting indefinitely suspended and fined $1 million as a result. Paul Heyman highlighted this storyline development during The Bump, comparing it to his actions from Crown Jewel. "You can't blame me for my lack of accuracy. I mean, you can, but you'd be wrong to do so. It's the same way that Adam Pearce is wrong in fining and suspending Brock Lesnar. Not that I'm advocating for Brock Lesnar. I'm just calling it like I see it," Heyman stated. Heyman has repeatedly refuted the allegations of being in cahoots with Lesnar these days. However, his true loyalty will likely be proven when the Beast incarnate makes a much-awaited WWE return to resume his feud with Roman Reigns.